Rana Draytonii, or the California red-legged frog, is found in Southern California and northern Baja California. It is currently listed as endangered due to habitat loss and predation from invasive species. Some of the causes of habitat loss are urbanization, agriculture, climate change, and the focus of this study, high-severity fire events. While fires are a natural disturbance in many ecosystems, high-severity fires engulf and scorch the terrain so severely that native species are unable to cope. These types of fires can be avoided using proper forest management techniques like prescribed burns and fuel removal programs. The US Forrest Service could potentially support the recovery of the California red-legged frog by directing current fire management efforts at areas that are both viable frog habitat and that pose a threat of high-severity fire events. The red-legged frog is a crucial species within the ecosystem and is even a food source for other endangered species like the aquatic garter snake. Efforts that support the recovery of this species would have a positive cascading effect on the ecosystem as a whole that would maximize the benefit from limited Goga inputs and resources. Current studies have demonstrated the connection between high-severity fire events and habitat loss. Also well known is the direct link between habitat loss and population decline for the red-legged frog. There is, however, no consensus on the most effective means for population recovery efforts.
The focus of our study is to look at areas managed by Goga that contain frog habitat and are affected by high fire severity. Our analysis would provide US Park Service an insight into potential areas of interest that could be targeted for fire management efforts. Our research question is, do areas that are potential frog habitat experience high fire severity, and do these zones fall within Goga territory?
To answer this question, we first had to identify areas that qualify as red frog habitat. This information was obtained from the US Fish and Wildlife Service database on critical habitat for endangered species. Once the habitat had been identified, we referenced a data set which included areas of high fire severity and found which of those areas overlapped with frog territory. Finally, we inserted Goga territory data to find where these areas intersect with land managed by the US Forrest Service. This is a flowchart that illustrates the data inputs on the left and what modifications and geoprocessing steps were necessary to complete the analysis.
This graph shows the relative proportions of the different zones within the study area. A total of 309 square miles of land was classified as suitable frog habitat. 40 square miles qualified as high fire severity area, and the area of interest, which is the intersection between these two variables, accounted for approximately 29 square miles. Our results show that there is primarily one specific area in San Mateo County that satisfies all three criteria. The area is approximately 3,155 US acres, and it is shown here in the map as an orange section. Directing limited Goga resources at this particular location would support efforts aimed at red-legged frog population recovery and minimize the negative ecological effects of severe fire events. These results provide useful insight into which areas could potentially be targeted for fire mitigation efforts. Future research could potentially study the relative impact of each factor threatening frog populations. This would provide further understanding of the potential success of this approach to conservation and endangered species recovery. We want to thank our Professor David Sa, the lab manager Megan, and our TA Fernanda for their help in completing this project.